Good morning. Happy Monday. I have Neuro Coffee in hand and it is perfect. All right. A typical busy Monday. For those of you on iFast University, we have a call at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you're not on iFast University, please go to ifastuniversity.com, get yourself signed up so you can join us for the conference call at 1 p.m. All right, digging into today's Q&A. This came through email from Brady S. And he says, "Hi, Bill." Hi, Brady. I have severely rounded shoulders, and I'm working hard to strengthen my upper back to pull my shoulders back. I'm making little, if any, progress. Any suggestions would be helpful. Thanks. Okay, so let's redefine what we're actually looking at. So what we're actually looking at under these circumstances is not a rounded shoulder problem per se. What we have is a rounded shoulder result. And so at minimum, you're looking at a sternal compressive strategy that is pushing the sternum down and back. The resultant is a response of the shoulder girdle in its behavior relative to this down pump handle situation. The way you're going to know this, Brady, is you're going to lose a lot of shoulder internal rotation under these circumstances. Depending on the other compressive strategies, you're going to see some other things occurring as the shoulder protracts. You're going to see a scapular elevation that's going to be associated with this. So if we can take a baby step back, the biggest problem that we have here is calling this thing a rounded shoulder because it implies that your shoulder is going to get pulled forward by so-called tight muscles. So people say, well, you have tight pecs and it's pulling your shoulders forward, and then you have weak scapular muscles. And so we end up with this scenario of the stretch and strengthen crowd where people are going to try to pull on pec muscles that are actually contracted, and they're going to try to pull back on scapular muscles, and you're going to end up with what looks like the before picture on the Terry project, because Terry had a down pump handle, he had the rounded shoulder appearance and tried to fix it by constantly pulling back the scapula in a retracted state, and therefore created a secondary postural issue, as you can see in the picture. So we have a wrong model, therefore a wrong solution. So the position, and more importantly, the movement of the shoulder girdle is very dependent on the shape of the thorax. And so this is going to be dependent on your ability to compress and expand appropriately, which means that we've got to get airflow into the upper portion of the thorax to restore a normal anterior posterior expansion, normal shoulder girdle representation, and therefore normal relative motions. And so if we think about people that are at this end game strategy, so this is going to be somebody that's gone through all of these superficial strategies, and they're actually pulling the sternum downward with rectus abdominis. That has to be resolved first and foremost. So activities that are going to help us resolve this and sort of free up this sternum so we can get the normal up pump handle situation. Actually, your developmental postures work really, really well under these circumstances, because we've also got the iterative effect of this increase in concentric orientation in the cervical spine as well. And so we're going to kill two birds with one stone. We're also going to be able to move the shoulder girdle into a position that does not require us to use a compensatory strategy. Our ERs move out and away from midline, and so we can actually use that space to our advantage to start to expand that space by reducing the concentric orientation of rectus abdominis and allowing the pump handle to come up. Now, chances are, because we're so far into these superficial strategies, you're going to be dealing with some anterior orientation of the pelvis and the thorax. That's going to need to be addressed as well. So rectus abdominis has to be resolved first, then go after your reorientation of the pelvis and the thorax. Once you're able to reorient the pelvis, we can start to worry about building the expansion back up into the thorax. Now remember, the lungs fill from the bottom up, just like a glass of water. So we're going to reduce the posterior lower compressive strategy. We're going to start to expand the dorsal rostral. So activities like the seated better band pull apart, standing version of better band pull apart is going to be useful as well. As you start to gain shoulder range of motion, and we can get the shoulder above the horizontal without compensation, now we've got activities that we can do in quadruped, and some of our horizontal reaching activities are going to fit the bill here. And this is where we're really going to start to see the pump handle start to come upward. Chances are, if we want to restore full excursion of the pump handle, we're going to work towards a position where the upper extremity is above shoulder level. And so this is where your inverted lazy bears are going to come into play. Some of your overhead reaching activities, some of your pull down activities actually will be useful under these circumstances. So Brady, what I want you to think about though is you have to kind of deconstruct what you're looking at as far as the rounded shoulder posture is concerned. It's the shoulder is the result of the lack of expansion, especially in regards to the sternum. So thorax shape becomes your highest priority. Avoid interference. So the intentional retraction activities in an attempt to fix the shoulder girdle posture is not going to be an appropriate strategy under most circumstances. And then don't forget, you've got other superficial compressive strategies that you're probably going to have to deal with. So hopefully, Brady, that answers some of your questions, give you some alternatives that you can utilize to restore your movement capabilities. If you would like to participate in a 15-minute consultation, please go to askbillhartman@gmail.com, askbillhartman@gmail.com, and put 15-minute consultation in the subject line so I don't delete it, and we'll arrange that at our mutual convenience. Everybody have an outstanding Monday, and I'll see you later.